So I woke up early this morning and I was going to meet up with someone because I'm shooting my first ever wedding as a photographer. So I had to wake up pretty early, meet up with this person, kind of go through the things and the routine of the day. And I just want to tell you how I felt like God was talking to me today and how I was talking to him today. So, um, I've just been praying over a lot of things in my life, and I also have been just kind of trying to find peace in things that I like desire. The thing that I desire the most in my life that I really want is to be eventually married, to have kids, etc., etc. The things that God wants us to desire and wants us to have, which is a good, healthy marriage that is founded on Him and that we as a couple or we as people who get together and really search God have in their marriage. And that's what I want. But I sat with God after I met up with this person because I had to go through a lot of things. Being in a wedding, I mean, it's my first time doing wedding pictures, doing anything, etc., etc. So, with that process, it can be a lot to put together. But I was driving the car today. It was like really early. It's probably like 8. So I had to get up at like 6 something just to meet up with this person around 7. Um, and I kind of felt like this is what I've been thinking about for the past days, but also up to now. So it's more of a harder topic to talk about, but it's the topic of marriage, but being at peace with it and being able to surrender things to God and being at peace with that. So I feel like I'm at a season, well, not at a season, but in a season in my life where I feel like I am in a season of surrendering, trying to be at peace with things that aren't coming in this timeline and what I want right now, but in the time and will of what God wants for me. Um and the renewing of everything that's going on in my life as of right now, and the unknown and the known of like, what am I going to do with my life? So I think I'm gonna have to make a part two with that. But um with that being said, I just felt like God was speaking on these little things with me, and I was surrendering those things to Him. So I'm gonna make a part two about it. So, like I said, I was meeting up with this person. I was in the car. We got done around like 8. Had to see the wedding itself and then the reception, where I need to go, where I need to be put, etc. And for the past days, I've been feeling like God has been speaking to me on these little things I'm kind of worried about in my life as of right now. So, the first one is the desire of being married and being with someone and everything like that. And we talked about that with my friend, and I talked about that the other day. We talked about that few subjects on that. And then we also talked about, what is it? The just our life and how everything's going to play out. But we also hit on the topic of the more unequally yoked of things. We talked about that. We talked about why we don't want an unequally yoked relationship and what can cause unequally yoked things in your life and what could go wrong with that. So I feel like when I was sitting in the car today driving home, it's like probably like 8, close to 9. Traffic was, it's at a high time. That's why I hate driving early in the morning, because it's so trafficy. You're just like, ew. And so I felt like the thing that was really hitting most in my life right now is the worry of marriage, because I think I see a lot of people who are my age or even 19, 20, 21 who are already married, have been in relationships for like 4 years, whatever. And then I kind of look at God, I'm like, God, so why are you not going to do this for me? Why are you not going to do that to me? But this is what I'm going to say next. That's going to kind of help you put you're complaining and what you've been saying to God in perspective. Sometimes God is not going to give us the things that we want or the things that we're like desiring in our lives. Could be marriage, this, that, whatever. But we cannot have those things, more on the marriage and relationship part. We cannot have those things if we are not constantly exercising that out every day of being a good friend, being a good girlfriend, being a good husband, being a good wife, being da 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 da. We have to know that we have to have our own relationship with God, exercise that out and everything. That's why it's called kind of the single season, where it's like you really need to spend time with God in that season, because even if you're married or if you aren't married, you're still going to be filled up with everyone else's time, especially if you have kids or not. Back on part 3. I think this is part 3, part 4. So that's the conclusion. I feel, not conclusion, but I feel like that was what God was saying to me. Like, and I even said this before to my friend too, because me and my friend, I love her and I adore her because she is like probably the person that I look up to. She's like my second, third kind of wise woman I look up to in my life, because I think it's really good to have spiritual leaders. My first ever person that I really look up to that really has helped me be led by God every day is my mom, of course. Is the people in my church, of course. Is the friends that I have that are actually really pursuing God every day besides their struggles. I really look up to them every single day. And I really appreciate the things that they have done for me and the ways that they have taught me, helped me to be able to solve a situation, solve conflict or whatever that isn't built on Christ, and how I can bring God more in that situation to solve the situation. So I was just sitting in the car and I was like driving or whatever, and it's not that God can speak to you different ways, but then at the same time, you have to know for yourself, am I really exercising God's words out every day? Because if I am left to complain every day of like, oh, I want this, I want that, or da da da. God, why aren't you giving me this and this time? Why are you not giving me this and that? Da, 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 da. You're complaining rather more so at being at peace. I think when we are at peace and rest of what we've like, if we keep fighting against what God's timing is, then of course we're gonna keep complaining. Of course we're gonna feel like, oh no, but I want this, I want that, da 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 da. Sometimes we aren't going to get what we want in the time that we want it. And that's basically what the video is saying for myself, but for others out there that are kind of going through this, where you see like a lot of Christian girlies get engaged like back to back every week or whatever, and you're like, uh, God, you know what? But like, I'm just being serious and I'm not trying to be as funny with the conversation, but um, that's what I've just been saying in myself. It's like, I cannot be a good wife or a girlfriend to someone if I'm not constantly exercising my fruits out every day, if I'm not constantly seeking God every day, if I'm not constantly working on myself to be better for my future self, but also to know myself, to be able to surrender the things that I need to surrender to God, so I may find peace in the things that I might not get right now, and that He may bless me later. So this is just a video to anyone who is going through that, where you feel as though like there's things that you want in your life, but we cannot, sometimes we're not going to get in the time that we want it, but you need to constantly surrender those things to God and say, God, help me be at rest with the thought of either not being married. Help me to be at rest at the thought of not getting this business right now, or not getting this or whatever. Help me to be at peace and rest, so that whatever you are going to bring in my life later that's going to bless me beyond measures, that I may be at peace with it and I'm ready to receive that gift. Because I think sometimes we're like, no, we want to get married, da, 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 and we want to rush the whole process of dating and being with someone. But the dating season is such an important season too, but the single season is the most top priority priority. What am I saying? The top thing that you really need in your life before you can say I do to someone, because you're gonna spend your whole life with someone. And baby girl, if you're not at that place where you know yourself well enough, you know yourself through Christ, that you know what you want and what you don't want in your marriage, and you know that the person that you're with is constantly searching God, then it's gonna go downhill if you don't know what you want and you're not really exercising your fruits out every day. Because sometimes we can end up with people who say they're Christian, but they're not actually exercising that out every day, and they're just kind of like willy-nilly every day, and you guys are just not equally yoked to each other, and that's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work, baby. So I just wanted to say that's a conversation that I felt like Gun and I were having today in the car. But for the past days before that, I think now I'm kind of thinking on a biblical level now, where it's like, I can't have these things if I keep complaining. I keep complaining about it. B, I'm not at rest and peace with it, and also surrendering it to God and saying, God, it's okay if I don't have these things. I think that's the place that we got to be at as Christians. It's okay if I don't have those things, but I do truly desire that. But that is in that, do what you may. And sometimes we gotta say, not your will, not my will, but yours be done. And sometimes we just have to be okay with either not getting married. Sometimes we have to be okay with not being with someone at the time and place that we want to. Sometimes we gotta be okay with not getting that business or that scholarship or whatever in the time that we wanted to. Sometimes God's timing is better than our timing, and we're gonna be abundantly blessed with so much more if we are at peace at it and we can surrender it, if we are constantly searching him and actually wanting to know who he is better, and that we are at a place that we have God in our foundation in ourselves. So